For decades, whispers of a government cover-up have swirled around one of the most controversial topics in history, UFO crashes and alien encounters. But what if much of what you've heard is wrong? What if the real story behind Roswell, New Mexico, and 2 other mysterious crash sites, is even stranger than we've been led to believe? Today, you're about to hear a rarely discussed version of these events, a story based on classified briefings, first-hand accounts, and hidden films never meant for public eyes. The briefing opened not with speculation, but with history. Contrary to the popular narrative, the infamous Roswell crash of 1947 didn't actually happen in Roswell. The craft went down closer to the remote town of Corona, New Mexico, southwest of where most people think. And there wasn't just one crash. Another craft was discovered 2 years later, far to the west near Magdalena, at a rugged area known as Horse Mesa. The first site near Corona was located quickly. The second, hidden deep in the wilderness, wasn't found until 1949 when a rancher stumbled upon wreckage on his property. What investigators found there shocked even seasoned military personnel. As part of our briefing, we were shown a 16mm film, a grainy, black and white reel that was marked, Top Secret. It documented not only the crash recovery itself but the removal of bodies from the site. The narrator explained the timeline. The first crash occurred in late June 1947, with the recovery extending into July. Military personnel were filmed at the scene carefully recovering both the strange craft and the remains of its occupants. This film revealed more than the public has ever been told. After the crash, at least one extraterrestrial, an entity the government later referred to as an EBN, was taken alive to Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico before eventually being moved to Los Alamos. According to the narration, it survived until 1952. The other bodies were immediately placed in deep freeze and sent to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. Forget the stereotypical flying saucer. The recovered craft was oval, almost egg-shaped, measuring roughly 35 by 42 feet. Inside, there were no levers, switches, or controls like we'd recognize in aircraft. Instead, the controls were seemingly touch-based, activated by the being's hands and headsets. And the occupants? They were about 4 feet tall with 4 long fingers tipped with suction-like pads, no thumbs. 2 bodies were largely intact, while others were severely damaged. They appeared to be unclothed, though on closer inspection, they wore ultra-thin, skin-tight suits. One alien even had a strange apparatus on its head, possibly for communication or navigation. Among the items recovered from the wreckage was a rectangular, transparent panel originally thought to be plexiglass. Years later, scientists discovered it was actually a power source, a zero-point energy device capable of fueling anything from a watch to an entire city. The 1949 recovery at Horse Mesa revealed an identical craft to the one found near Corona. The bodies at this second site were far more decomposed, but the technology was unmistakably the same. Scientists speculated both ships had been traveling together and crashed under the same conditions, possibly during a violent storm in late June 1947. Why they crashed remains a mystery. The surviving EBN may have provided an explanation, but that information was never included in our briefing. One of the most frustrating parts of this entire story is how the facts have been distorted by the UFO community. Many books and documentaries rely on second- or third-hand information. Most of the authors have never served in the military, held security clearances, or seen classified material. This flood of speculation has made it nearly impossible to separate fact from fiction. The truth is that the Corona and Horse Mesa crashes were virtually identical. Yet because so few people have the full story, they've been treated as unrelated events or dismissed entirely. Inside the craft, no recognizable flight systems or avionics were found. Steering mechanisms appeared to be controlled directly by the beings through touch and possibly mental focus aided by their headsets. The avionics were far beyond anything known at the time, and it took U.S. scientists years to even begin understanding them. Both crafts were sent to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which at the time was home to some of the nation's top scientists. In one Washington document I later read, the recovered technology was described as a zero-point energy device. This technology was so advanced it could power anything depending on demand. The Horse Mesa craft even carried a larger energy device than the one found near Corona, though why remained unexplained. The briefing didn't just cover these two crashes. We were also shown photographs of 4 entirely different types of extraterrestrial beings, images whose origins were never explained. One species had 2 hands on each arm, multiple joints in its legs, and strange protrusions on its body. Another was tall, thin, and humanoid, with arms extending down to its knees and cat-like eyes with slit irises. A third resembled the Ebens but was larger. Years later, in 1985, I learned in another briefing that this creature had been genetically engineered by the Ebens themselves. These revelations weren't science fiction, they were part of a classified program. Beyond the 2 oval crafts, we were briefed on other alien vehicles. A cigar-shaped craft about 60 to 70 feet long. A wide, top-like saucer much larger than the typical, flying saucer, people imagine. A small, one-seat reconnaissance craft about the size of a Volkswagen. The colonel leading the briefing admitted they still couldn't figure out exactly how these ships flew. At the time, it was unclear whether any had been captured intact. The biggest question raised in the briefing wasn't about the technology, but about intent. Were these reconnaissance missions ahead of a potential invasion? Were they monitoring our nuclear programs? Or were they simply here to study Earth's resources? In the late 1940s, the United States had just tested and used nuclear weapons for the first time. Many UFO sightings began near uranium mines and other sensitive facilities. It's possible these aliens were drawn to our weapons programs, either out of curiosity or concern. Security of nuclear weapons was the Air Force's highest priority at the time. Kirtland Air Force Base stored massive stockpiles of nuclear arms, and Roswell housed the only nuclear-capable strike force in the country. From our perspective, alien interest in these sites was a potential threat that had to be investigated. What I've shared today isn't speculation or a story I read in a book. These are details from classified briefings, films, and documents shown to people entrusted with national security. The truth about the 1947 crashes, the beings recovered, and their technology is far stranger and more complex than the popular story told today. Whether these visitors were explorers, scientists, or something else entirely, their presence changed how our government viewed the universe, and our place in it. If you found this video fascinating, be sure to check out the next one on our channel for more deep dives into hidden history and secret programs.